Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you guys? Good, good. I'm really pleased that you've been able to make it to this afternoon's session. It's described as a masterclass. I called it a workshop, all the same. But really, when you use the word workshop, it actually means that you have to do some work. So if you feel disappointed about it, you could leave now. So we have a very compressed time frame to actually do what we want to do this afternoon, which is to deploy what I call a very simplified foresighting model to make sense of how we can further diversify the creative sector and diversify it with a clear framework that focuses on a stakeholder-driven model. Because one of the problems with the creative sector is that we tend to focus on the artists and the creators as the primary process. And often, the key challenge there is that, we always operate on the premise, or often operate on the premise that if we build it, people will come. Or if we just make good art, people will buy it. And then be surprised that they don't show up, they don't buy it, or whatever. That is not to say that we shouldn't be fulfilling our mandate as artists and creators to live up to our creative potential, or that we should become inauthentic, or that we should be slaves to the market. It's trying to, what I call, find the sweet spot. I used to play tennis before I ruined my shoulder. And your tennis coach will always say you have to hit the ball in the sweet spot on the racket. That's where you get the most force, the most propulsion, the most direction, and control. So what we're going to do today is talk briefly about strategic leadership. I ran a workshop for what's called the Talent Leadership Program organized under Key Change a few months ago, and that was far more extensive. I did it over like 2 days virtually and so on. We have 90 minutes. So a lot different experience. But I can tell you, I've just come back from WOMEX, which is the World Music Expo. And one of the meetings that I participated in was the meeting for music managers, for example. And what they keep identifying is that the thing that is the weakest link in the cultural ecosystem tends to be management. Even in the European Union, they're identifying that that tends to be the biggest challenge. We have artists, we have institutions, we have markets or audiences, but somebody has to put the glue on all of it so that it makes sense. So that's the premise upon which we're operating this session. So I'm going to go through some slides really quickly. I'm operating on the premise that you guys already know most of this stuff, right? So I'm preaching to the converted. But if there's something that you want some clarification on, you can raise your hand. So, what is strategic leadership? Why is it important? And how can we implement it? I spend a lot of time with agencies, not just in the cultural sector, but other sectors, talking about implementation. In fact, I have coined a term, I don't know if anybody else has used it, I call it implementation deficit disorder, right? That's the malady that most developing countries are faced with. That's what separates us from the developed economies, because they have lots of institutions and they've been doing this for a longer time, and there's greater trust in their systems, better governance structures, plus they have more resources. But the resources come from these other things. It's not that the resources came first. Mind you, they did, rape and pillage all part of the world for resources. So who knows, maybe the resources do come first. But what do we want to do with strategic leadership? Strategic leadership involves guiding a team towards achieving stakeholder value. I've been working in various institutions now for all my career, and I've, for a long time, played a leadership role. And the biggest challenge, in fact, sometimes the easiest thing, is to get the external stakeholders on board. Getting the internal team on board is like crazy hard. Yeah? But nonetheless, you need to be marrying the two, because if the two are not operating in concert, you get lots of fraying of the process. So what are we trying to do? To create long-term success and return on investment, that's a term I use a lot, ROI, helps organizations to achieve their long-term goals and remain competitive. This is important, remaining competitive. So sometimes what you see in the creative sector is what I call the flash in the pan. So you have a number of artists who do well. You check back a couple years later, they're gone. Are there any other artists or performers or creators who are coming down the pipeline? The answer is no. There's no pipeline. This is not only about money, as there are many non-monetary goals that are important in assessing ROI. So for example, like sustainability. Like, is there a pipeline, and have you created a pipeline to ensure that your successes can be reproduced from one historical moment to the next? And then improve performance and value, which follows, I'm going to read through all of them. I'm saying that stakeholder, both internal and external, often underpin improved performance. So you have to have the right team, and you also have to cultivate good relationships with your stakeholders. And then stronger teams and accountability. If the team doesn't own the vision, then implementation is difficult, if not impossible. Because if you look at the literature on strategic leadership, it focuses on personalities. So the leader, often defined in very masculine terms, I forget all the typology now, but you read them and it's like, seriously, we're still talking about leadership in these terms? So leadership is really about creating a team that can move the needle, work in concert, and so on. And then adaptability to change. So change is the only constant. So I'm not going to go through all of these. You know why? I think we can fast track the process. One of the key issues is understanding your external stakeholders. Who are they? What do they want or need? And what can you offer to them? That is the game changer. And often what I do in the organizations that I've led, managed, and so on, is I use the external stakeholders to discipline the internal stakeholders by creating the relationships, MOUs or creating contracts, et cetera, and that helps to, I would argue, motivate the internal team to transform. It also secures the relationship with the external stakeholder. So, suppliers, sponsors, customers, sellers, function managers, business partners, organizational groups, other stakeholders. The list could go on and on and on. And in the creative sector, it could include broadcasters, it could include city managers, it could include corporate entities. And this is where I think we don't do well enough in terms of identifying the range of stakeholders and going to them and making a value proposition. So, one of the key things you have to do when you're coming up with a value proposition is figure out, well, so how much money are we talking about? What is the ask? If you can't define that very well, then, well, don't go. Don't go. Don't try and set up a meeting unless you're very clear what the ask is. I've had it happen to me. I go to a meeting, or sometimes a meeting happens impromptu. And the person on the other side, a very solid business person, they go, okay, so what's the ask? And if you start to fumble, you've lost the game almost immediately. So in your head, you always have to have this, I call it the elevator pitch. That 15, 20, 30-second thing that you could pull out of your head, like immediately. Right? You must have it written down, and you must have it embedded in your memory. Okay, so yesterday I mentioned it towards the end of my presentation. The creative economy is a super dynamic sector. By and large, most of us are viewing it in very stereotypical terms, and the average person views it in stereotypical terms. Those days are gone. Maybe we are not aware, but it's our business to be aware. So for example, I've been working in almost all of these areas. So creative tourism, I mentioned it in my presentation, but all the major global cities, a large share of their visitorship is determined by cultural tourism. And then in countries like my own, festival tourism is the key and biggest driver. And then there's heritage tourism. And then there's also diasporic tourism, which I've also worked on. All of that revolves around this notion of creative tourism. And the term creative tourism has even its own meaning as well, where the visitor becomes not just an observer of the experience, they can also become involved in the experience. So in my country, Trinidad and Tobago, we have a lot of visitors who come not just to participate in the carnival in a passive way, they come to play steel pan, and they come to do a whole range of things, work in a mass camp and build costumes, and so on and so forth. Right? So then there's creative education. Really important sector, because if we are not training people, both the artists, the entrepreneurs, the policymakers, the managers, and so on, this sector is not going to survive. You're not going to do well. So creative education is one of the key areas for growth. The youth economy, a large share of the people who dream about working in the creative sector are young people. And we see that, I think someone was making the presentation earlier about the growth of the creator economy. The creator economy is growing by leaps and bounds. Social influencers, I don't get it, but it's growing. It's growing hugely, and so on. And youth entrepreneurship and youth employment is going to be driven increasingly by the creative economy. Nighttime economy. I didn't even know about the term until somebody from a government called me and said, can you do a study for us on the nighttime economy? I went, the nighttime economy? And then I looked it up, and I was like, wow, okay, so most creative experiences happen in the night, from 6 p.m. till, I don't know, like 6 a.m. And so there's a whole important set of curation that requires. So you need public transport, you need security, you need lights, yeah, right? And a whole range of things to be in place. Sports and creative, I don't know if I need to explain that. But recently, where was I? In New York or Miami. And there was this, I can't remember the name of it, but it was the first time they were doing it. Basically, it was an athletics tournament where, I think, was it only women? Maybe it was men and women. And basically, the first prize, you got like $200,000. Then the second person got $100,000 to $50,000 US. And they were running through Times Square, right? And then they had like a huge stage where they had, what they did was to festivalize athletics. And it was a broadcast event. It was, in effect, a broadcast event with people running. It wasn't an athletics event that was being broadcast. If you get what I'm saying. And I was like, wow. They even had, what's her name from tennis? Serena, hosting it. Huh? And I was like, they brought in superstars, and they made a lot of money that night, I'm sure. And then there's the circular economy, and how the creative sector is becoming really important in that area. One of my most famous articles is on culture as the central pillar of sustainable development. This is only going to escalate and become more and more important. So we have six groups of chairs, and your job is to respond to the case studies that I conceptualized only this morning. I didn't sleep much last night, and one of the guys was asking me, what happened? Why you didn't sleep? I said, boy, because I'm doing work on the other side of the Atlantic, you know, till like 2 o'clock in the morning. But I think I was dreaming, well, not dreaming, I was worried about the case studies. So the first one's on creative tourism. I'll just read it very quickly. What I've tried to do is identify who's the proposer. Yeah? So in this case, the proposer is the mayor's office in a mid-sized city that has a strong demand in eco and adventure tourism, but wants to diversify into creative tourism to fill the off-season. You get it? Mm-hmm. All right. The second one, creative education. The proposer is a second-tier tertiary learning institution in a large global city that has a good reputation for applied learning. The third is the proposer is a Ministry of Arts and Culture, which has been mandated by the Office of the Prime Minister, so they have to do it, to develop a long-term nationwide initiative targeted at boosting the youth economy through the arts and the creative economy. And as per usual, they're not given any additional financing. So you have to find a way to do it with no money. And then the nighttime economy, the proposer is the Downtown Merchants Association in a small city that has been faced with reduced patronage by the local population due to crime and safety concerns. What are you going to do to promote the nighttime economy? And number 5, the proposer is a major sports association that aims to enhance revenue and build another income stream to fund participation in international tournaments. The president and the leadership of the association have developed a business plan for a 2-day sports festival. And the last, the proposer is a coastal town that recognizes the value of investing in a circular economy with a focus on the ocean economy. Key stakeholders are fisher folk who are concerned about depleting fish stocks and sustainability, so on and so on. All right, so this is where your work starts. I've come up with 2 worksheets. When I do these workshops, which take a little longer, we have more time, we have more worksheets, and you have to do more work. So count yourself as being lucky. What I need you to do is come up with 3 to 5 key points that identifies or outlines the key challenges and the key opportunities. People can always identify challenges, but if you can't identify opportunities, you might as well go home, because if there are no opportunities, there's no business. There are no stakeholders, external stakeholders that you can bring on board. And then you have to identify critical success factors. And by that, a critical success factor, for example, is a challenge that you can, for example, minimize. So if your challenge is, I don't know, financing, that's always a challenge, or restrain budget. The question is, how can you minimize that as a factor going forward? Another critical success factor would be, how can you amplify an opportunity? And so financing could also be part of an opportunity, which is that there's a key stakeholder who may have an alignment with your initiative. And you may be able to identify a mechanism to amplify that relationship and attract resources. So that's what you would then list in your critical success factors. Then you have to figure out your action steps, targeted indicators, required resources, and time frame. Now, if you all could do that in the time frame that you have been allotted, it would be miraculous. So my expectation is a little more muted, realistic, and so on. So if you could get to the first 2 columns, that would be perfect. Because it is the first 2 columns that really, really matter the most. If you can figure out what are the critical success factors, and if you can figure out what are the key action steps, then it means that you have momentum and you're moving potentially in the right direction. And then you can figure out all the money parts and the human resources and the timelines and so on later on. Okay? I have other worksheets that I normally use. One, for example, that I really like, which I developed only recently, that allows you to figure out, which one are your priority areas, which one you're going to go for first, where's your low-hanging fruit, what's long-term, and you map it out, but we don't have time for that. So, how are we going to proceed? Well, you have printed sheets in each grouping. What I'd like you to do is assign someone to be your rapporteur, who's going to report and present. You get 3 minutes to present. And since we have 6 groups, 6 by 3 is 18. Let's assume 20 minutes. So that means we have to finish at, what time are we supposed to finish? At 4 o'clock? So it's 3 o'clock now. You have 40 minutes. Sounds like a plan? Sounds doable? Perfect. What I'll do is I'll come around to each of the groups, and if you're sticking, you need help, I will assist, and so forth. Okay?
Festival in Durban. We're imagining the middle-sized city is one that we know, which is Durban.
You could name it. You could choose a city. You have poetic license.
Okay.
So you can make it realistic.
Thank you. Yeah, so that could be very cool. Because and it's warm, right? Durban stays warm in the evenings too. So thinking nighttime economics, I think weather is a huge opportunity. Okay.
Are you writing down?
Well, I can't be the rapporteur because I am chairing a panel starting at 4, so I have to go before 4. So
okay.
Maybe, I'm happy to write, but if you'll read my handwriting.
I don't even use a pen. Do you have a pen? Do you have a pen? Yes. No, do you have another
Okay.
one? No. This one, yeah. Then I'll write here too.
Okay, I'm going to write other opportunities. Good weather. Okay. I think that's really important.
Yes, it's really important.
I've been to some festivals in the rain. It's horrible.
Creative education through establishment of an upskilling academy of offering micro credentials. I'm happy Dr. Ness is here to assist us. We're interpreting micro credentials as credits you can get through short learning programs kind
Correct.
of thing. Yeah. Okay. So training of creative artists and entrepreneurs, one of the key target groups. Okay. So we've got to identify funding to access this group is a key challenge. Are you referring to assess it? Oh, okay. So it's funding to assess this group is a key challenge.
Yeah, because, artists and cultural entrepreneurs generally don't like to pay to get training. Or they always claim that they have no money,
Okay.
which often is true.
Yeah. Yes.
So often when you're piloting something, you have to find some funding
Yeah.
to get it going. And then once it's up and running and they see the value of it, they tend to then start coming and paying for it.
Okay.
But if you try and get them to pay from the outset, it's going to be
Good.
tough.
Good. Yeah. Good challenge. So it wasn't clear to me, and I'm taking advantage because Dr. Ness is here. Do we work on this and the first two columns, or we go straight to worksheet T2?
You start with worksheet 1. You have to identify what are the key challenges and opportunities. And then you use that as the basis to come up with your critical success factors.
Okay.
All right? So not everything that is an opportunity or a challenge that you're going to necessarily zoom in on, but you want to get maybe at least 3 to 5 critical success factors.
Okay.
So essentially, we can assume like a technical type in Cape Town,
Yes.
offering.
You could even identify a particular institution that fits the bill. You can make it real. Yeah.
We can identify CPUT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I studied at CPUT
Oh,
15
there
years ago. Architecture.
There you go.
Yeah.
So CPUTs. So in South Africa, we've got traditional universities and universities of technology, which are supposed to be training for professional purposes.
More technical.
And then we've got TVETs that are more vocational.
Yeah, correct.
The
Yeah.
second tier definitely would be like a technical.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, very good.
So, what are they? Oh no.
Adequate skill to take the opportunity. But I want to speak to that because that is, I think, the educational system is completely broken. Right, because I mean the entry point is what is to finish matric? 30%. I mean that's ridiculous.
No, yeah, but it's towards skills development because it's not even about the matric pass rate, because just because it's a pass rate, the students who get distinctions and excel who can go to universities, but they're not adequately skilled. So there's not enough people who are trained as managers. That's why in any of your institutions, if one of your
This group
managers
is what?
can leave, you're
What
gonna
is this
take
group?
some people with-
Okay.
So
I hear you, but it feels like
Is it appropriate skills?
yes, inadequate skill.
Because we skill, but it's not market-related skills. I mean, we know how many people who are unemployed have qualifications. It doesn't mean once you qualify you're going to get a job. It's just that.
Yeah, inadequate
So there's
skills.
partly the education system being broken and
Just
irrelevant.
Mm.
to the
I think
market,
that is just a umbrella holding term for that.
but lack of appropriate skill.
It's inadequate skills.
Well, we have an education panel group over there. So I don't want you all to get too hooked on the skills training dimension. Skills are always critical. It's funny, like last night, the Chamber of Commerce from one of the islands in the Caribbean called me. They want me to come and talk to them about how to improve skills, because a lot of the firms are saying we are being stymied, our growth is being stymied because we can't find young people who have the required skills in the new global economy. So youth employment and youth entrepreneurship is dependent on skills. But this group, I want you all to think, so what else beyond skills is an issue? So often, the labor market doesn't give good signals. So the businesses need something, but the young people don't know what that is. Or the young people are interested in some things, but the business people are not. Or when young people go into work in businesses, their skills are not being utilized because sometimes the older heads think that they're coming to take their jobs, right? So trying to think through beyond the skills.
Yeah, some students, they do have access to Wi-Fi, to internet, but they focus rather on these trends or the TikToks instead of imparting themselves with other sites or information that is there on the internet. So
It's a mindset issue, like you say. The orientation about you that someone must help me. I'm waiting for government and waiting.
That being said,
Just waiting for that.
Yeah, the mindset is just a huge issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does speak to signals, because if you're not receiving signals, your mindset goes towards whatever is most visible to you, which is content creation, right?
Yeah.
So that's signaling very strongly to them, not what actually else there is for them to do. But
Correct.
yeah, you're right with the signals.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be our fifth one. So which one is it?
let me make
My favorite group, the nighttime economy.
Yes. we were cruising.
Cameras, security, human capital,
Okay.
labor force.
And then returns with potential positive outcomes in return.
Potential. All right. So I think we mentioned that in terms of crime, if we can maybe circle back to how we can solve it in terms of maybe putting in structures, the cameras that we spoke about, sort of like monitor
Security, yeah.
security. Yes. So I
Providing
think a lot of it goes back to
From
the
this side to that side,
Okay.
providing security, providing adequate security. Let's say adequate security.
But that's reading more like a recommendation. So if you, for example, an opportunity would be the fact that it's the Merchants Association that is coming with this. So maybe they are prepared to put some resources behind, making spaces more accessible, or making spaces, or they may be prepared to put some resources behind arts creation. So the fact that the merchants are asking for this is a huge opportunity.
Yes.
That by itself, because they have a lot, they can also then be strategic partners to help, like lobbying the government or the city government to put more resources behind the creative economy.
So the opportunity is a public-private partnership. Opportunity
Correct,
Is a
yes,
public, opportunity is the public-private partnership. No, this side for the opportunity.
Yes. I'm on the right side, but I'm just writing it below because I'm working according to this. So public, private, partnership.
Yeah, partnership.
Yeah, precisely.
Investment. Yeah, public-private partnership investment.
And then what it does, it also now strengthens your lobbying or advocacy capacity. So you could go, it's one thing for creatives to go and talk to the government. It's one thing for the creatives to be going with the merchants to talk to the government.
And then in terms of some of the first ones that we outlined in terms of like crime and safety concerns, how we were trying to provide also like creative means around resolving those issues in terms of how they affect the nighttime economy and for creatives. So I was thinking more or less around maybe if we can even lobby for more security that can maybe be attributed to creatives and how creatives can benefit from the business component of it and how they can also get into the economy, not just by being performers, but actually assisting, because creatives know how they are affected by these problems. So I I think
Okay,
more-
well,
more
okay, so I'll tell you what. In some of the literature, we know what obtains is that crime goes down during major festivals. So by having a lot of people in the public space enjoying themselves, even the criminals are enjoying themselves too. Right? Because they become partly invested in the process as well. Huh? Because, maybe they are creatives themselves or would love to be or like enjoying it. So there's this really important synergy between creating an inviting nighttime economy experience and reducing crime. Right? Yeah? Because normally people would think, well, maybe we need to have more police on the road. Well, yeah, you need to have maybe some visibility, but it cannot overshadow the experience because people don't like to go where there are lots of police and with guns and so on. It turns them off. So you have to manage that, almost make it invisible.
Yes. Safe.
Yeah.
So like street festivals or like food trucks, bring it into the area. And then there's
Yeah,
maybe
yeah. Because when you create a nighttime economy of this sort, you create lots of jobs in all kinds of areas. That then fuels the youth economy in particular, cuisine, and culinary. So the spin-off effects are very substantial.
So it's also sometimes like a side hustle for some people because it's after hours.
Yeah,
It's even more people.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man. You're all good.
Full creative name. I think it's more the concept that be interested in.
Cool.
I think let's call it Vuvuzela.
Yeah, cool, yeah. Let's call it Vuvuzela and then we're good to go. Yeah, Vuvuzela.
Greetings.
Oh, you're going.
We try.
And,
Yeah, and it's also Vuvuzela is internationally appropriate.
I don't know, it's known.
It's appealing. It's a
known, but it's noisy. They ban it in some. But anyway, it's known.
It's a good.
Yeah. So it's Vuvuzela. So we've got this. The festival is called Vuvuzela Festival. Yeah.
Oh, so you're creating your festival, or it's a festival you're already referring to that exists?
No, as a sports association, we're thinking of just the layout of the 2 days, and we're trying to name that festivity, and we name it Vuvuzela Festival.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we're needing to lay out what is it that we do. So we took the concept of Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the flying things and so on.
Yeah.
So we want to create that festivity,
Mm-hmm.
but also we wanted to steal your ideas. But I couldn't get the idea. But New York, 39.
It was New York Marathon you were referring to.
Was it? It wasn't the marathon.
Wasn't the
Yeah,
marathon?
yeah.
Oh, it was something
No,
else.
no, it was something else.
Okay.
It was like one evening. It ran for maybe like 3 hours. It's like a 3-hour thing.
Yeah.
And basically, you had all the top sprinters.
Yeah.
So it was like 100 meter, 200, and I think 400.
Okay.
And basically, they just ran the men and the women's.
Okay.
Yeah? And they invited maybe the top 8 athletes in the world in those categories. You could do that in 3 hours, including with interviews and, they were doing profiles on each of the athletes.
Yeah.
And it made it into this media sensation. It was very interesting.
Because what I'm thinking as well, which might just be good in terms of the Vuvuzela Festival, is to say, in terms of the layout, how do we draw in the legends to come on board, right? So I think, whatever. So one would be drawing in the legends. Of course, Serena would be.
So you're putting that as one of the critical success factors? Because you see, the process is that you need to identify what are the challenges and the opportunities.
Cool.
And then focus on the critical success factors. So for example, bringing in legends
Yeah.
is a really important critical success factor, because what they do is bring celebrity, they bring
the old fans and
old
and
fans,
Also the social
children's it as
media
well.
aspect.
and social
And the
media.
media comes in as well because they already aware
All right,
of them.
but,
Okay, cool.
but the exercise is not for you to plan the festival right in one shot, right? It's to really understand how you could use certain levers to make it a success.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
right. So make sure you have at least 3 challenges, 3 opportunities, and then start working out the critical success factors. So, for example, for this something like this, broadcast, having a relationship with a broadcaster, and generating broadcast income.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah. And then intellectual property.
Okay. All right.
Right? So intellectual property management becomes a really important critical success factor. So you have to sign agreements and contracts with all of the performers or the athletes. It has to be watertight. And with the broadcasters. Yeah? So that
How many do we have now? One we've got the legends among the older.
No, just market research. Okay. Markets research, coordinated market research.
So this is the all-female group.
It looks like discussing fishing. We have no clue what fishing is.
What you could do?
Market research.
Market research.
So we wanted to just hear about your definition of a circular economy.
Well, they use different terms for it. So a circular economy could be an economy where there's zero waste, or where it's really responding to the transitions in terms of sustainability. So yeah, and so this was the last group that I developed. So.
Woke up this morning.
Yeah, but I actually did it when I was here, sitting in this very same room, because I saw a presentation this morning and I said, because I had it in mind, but I decided, nobody would be interested in circular economy. And then I saw the presentation this morning and I was like, okay, I need to include it. Because look at South Africa has a long coastline.
Yes.
Right? And lots of cities and towns on the coastline. Right? So the ocean economy and the blue economy is super important for South Africa. The question is, how do you create the interface between the cultural sector and the circular or blue economy or ocean economy? Right? So that's why this one is framed, the proposal is a coastal town, right?
Yes.
Right? You have no shortage of coastal towns. Right? In fact, you could just pick one. So you're bringing on board, you're using culture to create maybe a communication platform, maybe for the fisher folks so that they don't deplete the stocks, or to get tourists or the general population to understand what are the opportunities in the blue economy.
Technical apps that help manage those. Surely there's something like that.
Yeah.
And the opportunities that some sort of app that you can download where it's like, do not, this species is getting in the red zone.
Yes, so endangered species and so on.
So
But isn't this part of our purpose with the coordinating the fishing cycle and
exactly.
then maybe
technological solutions to that, definitely.
As well.
Yeah. And so that, and this is where I've been working a lot with creatives now. It's like, culture is not just for entertainment. There's a whole range of other opportunities. And so you could then find these new stakeholders who may be interested in partnering with you. So now you don't have to go by a Ministry of Culture. Now you're going by the ministry that deals with the circular economy, bioeconomy.
And collaborating even with marine
Researchers. Right. So this morning we had a presentation from NAMI. I forget the acronym.
Yes.
But it was like a Maritime Institute.
Oh yeah, marine.
I was in that one.
Yes. Yeah.
Institute,
Yeah.
yes.
So, as a strategic partner, right there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
You're still doing opportunities and challenges?
Okay, but we're
No?
getting there. We're starting
To okay.
see about how.
Yeah. Well, you have to quickly.
You know the same way that you defined nighttime economy.
Yeah.
How would you define creative economy? Creative tourism.
Well, I did. Creative tourism includes festival tourism, cultural tourism, heritage tourism, and even in literature now, creative tourism is almost like a standalone. So, for example, people can come and as part of their tourist experience, learn how to produce, I don't know, fabrics or textiles that are indigenous.
I mean, because Cape Town, money goes into museums and things, but for some cities, that's not really where the money is.
Well, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
maybe let's move to the.
so for me, I want to hear what you all think your critical success factors are.
Yes, okay, let's get to that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one that we spent a lot of time talking about is if you want international tourists, you have to be really good on your marketing and visibility because by the time they get to your country, it's too late. They've made their plans.
Correct.
So you can market internally for domestic tourists, and they tend to be able to pick up random things. Oh yes, that's nice.
Yeah.
But for the international one, it's got to be far in advance, and it's got to be so. But we came up with a good solution, I think, which is we'll sponsor some social media influencers to come and to have a holiday.
All right.
To get into the youth, we'll think about promotion of filming
Yeah,
location.
position
There is a film
as a
office.
film,
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the city.
as a filmmaker, as a location.
But yeah, you're also going to need, I think, experts.
Yeah, and you also need to have people like tour guides and that kind of infrastructure in place, so that when people come to a hotel and they say, well, what can I do in the evening or what can I do on the weekend? There's a package there that people can actually just easily subscribe to.
So you gave us quite an easy job because ours is a medium-sized city that already has eco and sports tourism. So we're like, well, that's actually an advantage because we assume there are some tour guides.
Right.
And there are hotels, right? And now if we're targeting the off-season, there's capacity. So that's,
Yeah.
Even though we were concerned about
Good,
obviously the
good.
pressure on the infrastructure.
All right, well, you'll have 15 more minutes.
Yeah, 15 more minutes. Underline.
That kind of profile.
Yeah. If you can approach them to expand the offering they already have to include the education, that will just only add to their CSI.
So actually, that's very good. This so target companies that have got a strong CSI.
Yeah.
I think that's
Collaborate
So you all have your critical success factors all mapped out now? You have 15 more minutes.
brainstorming.
Well, you need to stop brainstorming and start writing.
I think we can move out from the brainstorming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But we need you to come up with 3 at least. Critical success factors. And outline what are some of the action steps. So for example, for anything, any initiative, funding and financing is always marketing and promotion and branding, right? But in your case, for example,
curriculum development.
curriculum development, is really important. Curriculum design,
Yeah.
and also, you know, building maybe strategic alignment with certain industries. Because when these people finish their training, where are they going to go work? So if there's a way in which there's already a set of employers who are waiting for these people to finish their upskilling experience and then bring them into the workforce, then
accreditation.
I'm assuming that the institution has accreditation, right? And the credits will be accredited. Right? Yes, it's important. Yes, it's important. So you can put that as a critical success factor. But I think the thing that will help to propel it even further is if you have this relationship with industry, so that there's an employment opportunity that emerges almost immediately from the process.
So we are actually really emphasizing like partnership with corporates, like even co-branding, bringing them even in curriculum development from the outset.
As well as absorb people who come through.
Even offer scholarships through the CSR program.
Correct.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. I think we thank you.
Yeah.
You could help us crystallize it.
How they changed the whole infrastructure of Ethiopia and how the lights all became, they looked at energy.
I like it, man. All you're filling out the critical success factors. Perfect. You have 15 more minutes.
Okay, let's move on to our action steps.
Just quickly, so then they said they did the Wi-Fi. When they fixed the Wi-Fi and they fixed the infrastructure, they've now started
Oh, you've made some good headway, man.
We're struggling a bit here.
Okay.
It's just moving it from the action steps and just moving it back to...
But you have been ambitious, because I said you could stop after the first two columns.
Oh my goodness, I
But-
actually have a fifth one. So as soon as you
No, you can go here up to here. You don't have to try and do all this. This requires a lot more work and thought. But this is the most important thing. If you have this mapped out, then the other steps are easy at some other point in time, right? But getting this, crystallizing the critical success factors. Yeah.
Okay, so we're A students in other words.
Well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and your colleagues will probably,
Yes, no, it's fine.
assess whether you've done well or not.
Saying they must be measurable, those targets.
Yes.
How many patrons per month, how much revenue generated?
Precisely.
So we're starting to do that.
Okay, good.
Okay,
thank you.
Amen.
We're making that more tangible.
How more people going? How more people going?
Slowly but surely.
Well, you have 15 minutes or less, actually.
Yeah, like
9 minutes.
We're almost there.
That's right.
We're almost there.
Ken, what's the next one? So we're bridging the gap between sports and creativity, making the connection visible.
You'll have 9 minutes, 8 minutes.
We're trying to understand critical success factors. Well, I'm trying to understand.
A critical success factor is something that makes all the difference. So generally,
28 minutes.
okay,
That makes
right? That can either amplify an opportunity or minimize a challenge, right? So generally, for any initiative, there's at least 2 or 3 things that are really normal for everything: funding and financing, marketing, communication, and branding are always critical success factors. If you don't have those things in place, right? But in your case, what are you guys doing again?
Fisheries.
Yeah.
Fishery and
Yeah.
needs
For example,
communication mechanism.
stakeholder
Yeah,
engagement and support
Yeah, stakeholder
is like probably your priority number one.
Because you need to lobby and lobby that you're on the same page with these people.
And everyone has to be on board, right?
Yeah. And for example, if the fisher folk are not on board, it's a non-starter.
Exactly.
Right? If you don't have some of the city officials or the town people, institutions on board, you're stuck. Right?
We put a contest and communication there.
Yeah, marketing and finances can't happen with finance.
Yeah. So how is this communication strategy to be financed? Right?
So do you have a budget to back up the interventions that you intend to roll out? Some of them, like if you want to bring messaging through the artists you're talking about, you need a budget. To finance those. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, guys, you have like 5 more minutes, and there's a prize for the group that goes first.
Nighttime group goes first. Nighttime group goes first. Look at the knock-on effect as well. The knock-on effect. The knock-on effect as well. You have this festivity as well.
We were first up with outdoor activities are already there. Yeah, so and we already have the infrastructure for that. For expansion. Yes. Which now we will simply piggyback on that existing infrastructure now to build on that for the
Looks very elaborate. I'm very much looking forward to hear the articulation.
Oh gosh.
Oh wow.
Have low expectations.
You are the rapporteur?
Yes.
Because I suspect nobody else can read your handwriting.
This is even someone else.
So are you going to cue and say sort of, explain the challenges and what are the opportunities, or how do we present this?
We've got 3 minutes. No, 3 minutes. How many minutes do you have? 3 minutes.
I'm going to have to really press you guys because we have to finish in like at 4.
Oh, yes, we've got 4 minutes to start.
Yeah. So you can quickly go through what you consider to be the challenges. So you kind of read your brief first, right? So people remember what it's all about, and then quickly, and you could almost summarize, right? You could say well, these are the 3 key things, and then you flip. The most important thing is for us to get your critical success factors, right? So you must have enough time to share with us what those are and maybe some of what are the action steps. You don't have to go through all, but at least give us a sense of what key issues are. So you guys are ready to rumble?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Remember, you have 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You have to read your brief so that everyone remembers what it's all about. Okay. And then you could summarize, because you don't have much time. You could give the highlights. So what are some of the challenges, what are some of the opportunities? And then zoom in. We need you to identify all your critical success factors and maybe give us a sense of what the action steps are. Yeah? Cool. I think it's about time to wrap up. You have 3 minutes, remember. And you must read your brief first, so everyone remembers what it's all about. Then quickly summarize your the challenges and opportunities. And we want you to identify your critical success factors. Those are really important. And maybe then you could summarize some of the action steps, just to illustrate. And that's it. Boom. Oh, you rehearsing, man. So, you have to read your brief quickly, so everybody knows what it's all about, and then zero in on. You could summarize the challenges and opportunities. You don't have to go all the list, but your critical success factors, we need to get those, and then you could summarize maybe some of the action steps, just to illustrate how it can be implemented. Yeah? I know you have that covered. It's about now time. So summarize your you have to read your brief. What is your brief so people know?
No, it's easy. You've done it.
I know it's easy.
Yeah.
I'm saying just finish it.
Oh, come on.
Finish this thing.
Let me finish. So, the gender thing is a hell of a thing.
Finish this thing up. This thing was easy.
All right. Okay. You have to read your brief. Right? Then summarize what are your challenges and opportunities. We need your critical success factors as much as you have, and then identify what you consider some of the, the action steps that are required. We're going to start. So, just let me remind you, you have 3 minutes, and I have a timekeeper at the back, and she's going to be very brutal with the time. So, the first thing you must do is read your brief so that we all know what you're talking about. Secondly, summarize your challenges and opportunities. But we need you to give as much detail as possible about your critical success factors, and then you can summarize your action steps by giving an example. Okay? And that's your 3 minutes. And we're going to be very brutal about it. So, these guys volunteered to go first. Nighttime economy. Perfect. Come.
Hello everyone, and everybody's doing well. So we as the nighttime economy developers are looking at, the proposer is the Downtown Merchants Association in a small city that has been faced with reduced patronage by the local population due to crime and safety concerns. So we're looking at ways to promote the nighttime economy and how we can identify that as strategic innovation that can also boost consumer expenditure. So it's looking at twofold in terms of artist participation and the creatives and how they can also be a part of the economy, and also looking at the public participation. So in order for us to just summarize the challenges and opportunities, we'll look at maybe 1 or 2 points. So we're looking at crime reduction, which is the first one, which is looking at maybe that's a challenge, and then an opportunity might be providing adequate security and also enhancing the creative experience so that creatives can also feel safe, and the public as well. So safety concerns, that's one. Safety concerns, they usually lobby and rally around any patrols, any touch points that may affect people at a certain time, maybe like being pickpocketed or maybe needing something
in terms of like developing, sensors and a safety app. So a lot of times what happens during the nighttime, because there is, less lighting infrastructure, a lot of things tend to get away. So maybe if we can put an infrastructure around, having like an app that's developed for creators and by creators, that if something happens at a certain corner, then everyone can get an alert at the same time. And also the alert can then move from one standpoint maybe to now alerting the officials. But firstly within the infrastructure, and then secondly within the offline infrastructure in terms of the officials. And then yes, just to, in closing, in terms of the challenges and opportunities, maybe look at infrastructural development. So we spoke around lighting, roads, and how we can become more conducive to creatives, because when creatives...
You have 40 seconds, you need to get to critical success factors.
And then increased infrastructure investments, my goodness. Now, let's get into the critical success factors. So we said collaboration, that's one.
Collaboration with whom?
Between merchants and creatives. And then what is the action step? That is jointly approach government to lobby for more resources or resource allocation. And then when we looked at the second one, we said partnerships with the private sector. Again, that is also to lobby big businesses to support and invest into the nighttime economy.
Thank you very much. Great, that was excellent. Who's going next? Yeah, okay. Oh, where's the clicker? Yeah, go.
All right. So ours is, thank you. Ours is a proposal for the youth economy, and our brief is the Ministry of Arts and Culture has been mandated by the Office of the Presidency to develop a long-term nationwide initiative targeted at boosting the youth economy through the arts and creative economy. The Ministry hasn't been given additional financial allocation and must find strategic partners to deliver. So we looked at the situational analysis, and our key challenges are there's massive youth unemployment, there's a structural lack of access, there's crime, we have a lack of skills or education, and we have mindset complications. We also looked at the opportunities that are out there. Big opportunity is the gig economy, the digital space. And then we also noted that there's a hunger for Afrocentric content and experiences. There's a very agile young workforce. There's a lot of geographic innovation and resourcefulness in South Africa. And there is an allocation of funding that specifically targets this group, a large allocation. So looking at our critical success factors, so critical success factor number one is having access to the physical and, sorry, I haven't told you what our project is. Okay, so we decided that our project is to create hubs throughout South Africa that will train youth, will give them the access that they need to the digital infrastructure that can enable them to have careers in the digital content system, so be that animation, whatever it is. But we're creating infrastructure and opportunity in that space. So the critical success factors are, first of all, we obviously need to partner with private sector, and we're thinking that youth employment stimulus programs throughout the country can be the vehicle through which this is delivered. Our first success factor is access to physical and digital infrastructure, so we're going to need a partner on that. Then secondly is the ability to earn. Okay, so that's obviously a very important outcome. Access to markets. So again, our private sector partners are going to be very key here. And then also we're needing retention, so people staying in the project and not leaving, not dropping out. And then transferability of skills, because this digital frontier is massive, so we don't want to teach very specific skills only. Well, we will focus in on specific skills, but we want to be able to enable our youth to be able to transfer those skills across different sectors. So the action steps we're going to take is we're going to find that partner who's going to help us with our equipment and our Wi-Fi service to enable free Wi-Fi so that people can come to these hubs, use great equipment and not have to pay. Then we also need to find, we need to develop capacity, so that's also going to be an important factor.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, that was excellent. Good, 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 good.
Hello everyone. So our group, we focus on the creative education. So the proposer is a second-tier tertiary learning institution. So we've assumed like CPUT, the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, in a large global city like Cape Town that has a good reputation for applied learning. And the aim is to leverage this area through the establishment of upskilling academy offering micro-credentials like short course. And the training is the training of creative artists and entrepreneurs in one of the key target groups. Identifying funding to access this group is a key challenge. So I think essentially the kind of course we imagine is creative is a bit broad, creative art is a bit broad term, so it will probably focus more on offering like the entrepreneurial development, so clarifying the value proposition, route to market, business model, innovation, that kind of offering. Obviously, as always, in this kind of like targeting this kind of group, funding is a big challenge. Let me just get into the main key challenge. So the key challenge is funding, and I think, and then the other challenge is accreditation, getting well accredited, offering well accredited course, and the other one is finding strategic partners to offer this course, to deliver this course. And then let me just jump in. Sorry. Yeah, that's the main section. Sorry. I think I'm going to jump into the critical success factors. So funding. So funding is one of our critical success factors. And in terms of, I think, opportunities or the next steps is that we have a lot of opportunities. So we can access funding from the CETAs for like relevant CETAs for this kind of course. We can also, I think the other one crucial for us is partnership with corporates through their corporate social responsibility, but also corporates that see this as a pipeline, even offering employment opportunities for the same groups in future. They would also have a co-branding benefit, so it's a win-win partnership. So we're thinking of like Standard Bank or specific big brands in that kind of creative sector.
Okay, thank you very much. Pleasure. Our creative tourism guys?
Hi everyone. Gosh, I can't promise the same level of coherency with this experiment, but so the proposer is the mayor's office in a mid-sized city that has a strong demand in eco and adventure tourism, but wants to diversify into creative tourism to fill the off-season. Aims to boost international tourism arrivals as well as domestic tourists. The city has good weather for half the year. The cultural scene is underdeveloped. So to help our hypothetical along, we anchored it to a real-world place. Durban is what we settled on. And for eco and adventure tourism, the benefits of a place like Durban is its ability to cater to water-based activities, land-based activities, the variety of environments, and the wide appeal of that. And let me see. So for challenges, we had the challenge of marketing to international tourists, sort of getting the word out about Durban as the place to go for certain activities, especially if it doesn't have an established record, a track record as a hotspot for that. But then also another challenge was the pressure of these demands if the city is functioning at full capacity in the off-season, and the wear and tear on the infrastructure then if you have a very active, business season. So when does the city have time to do its repairs and to make sure that it's not exceeding its capacity? But also the strain that would have on the local population, who sort of feel like their town is not really for them.
Can you switch to your critical success factors now?
Sure. So marketing and visibility was our first one, and KZN and in the area surrounding Durban, the film market has been very good for promoting the sort of natural splendor of that region and drawing interest in a variety of sectors. Management and expertise is another critical success factor. Leadership that tries to engage with all sectors, particularly the creative sector, and training those future leaders would be something that they have to really consider. Investment and funding, public-private partnerships, so cross-sector collaboration, local buy-in, getting the people in the town to feel that they have a stake in the tourism economy, and to be able to get derived benefits from that activity and that traffic.
Great, thank you very much. Great. Our circular economy.
I'm not going to read the brief because
Okay.
it's on the screen. But the coastal town in question is how today. The challenges or trends within the environment with potential negative impact. We're looking at waste management. This is waste out of the fish itself, but also pollution coming out of whatever equipment is being used. And these are non-sustainable equipment or materials such as plastic nets and so forth. We've also identified trawling, where there's overfishing and messing up with the marine life or biodiversity. There's also global warming, which is affecting water temperatures and movement of marine life. And another challenge is lack of education about the ocean itself and what golden opportunity lies in that. We have identified corresponding opportunities that they can resolve that. For critical success factors, the most important, because we're dealing with a community, coming up with an ocean, bluish ocean strategy as well as a clear communication strategy. One is the stakeholder engagement, and this will take place from grassroots levels involving local community representation, be it your ward councillors and people that they can identify with for those engagements. Clear, concise messaging, and here we might need to come up with sharp slogans, which we saw quite effective during drought period in different cities in South Africa, but here relevant to the ocean economy. When I look at that slogan, I should think about conserving the marine life. And thirdly, which is most important, is budget allocations, and this is funding of the initiatives that I'm referring to. So if we are going to integrate other sectors to know the importance of the ocean, be it for sporting activities or cultural activities, we'll need funding that will direct it towards interventions identified. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Perfect.
Okay, number 5. So we are a major sport association, and we want to build another income stream. And what we're doing is basically creating a 2-day sports festival that will attract potential international viewership. So what we're going to do is we're starting a carnival that will celebrate sports and the arts together. The concept is to have something similar to the Red Bull event that just took place on Sunday here in Cape Town, but we're calling ours Vuvuzela Mzansi Festival for sports and CCIs. So we are inviting legends, celebrities, current celebrities, sports stars, brand ambassadors to these events. We're targeting everyone in the community. I know that doesn't sound good, but that's what we're doing. And then we're particularly also interested in tertiary institutions, especially students who will be coming to the festival to build floats, participate. We're interested in corporate sponsorships, brands. We also want to involve schools so that they can participate in building their floats and coming from all over Cape Town to bring them into town. During the festival, we also want to block off one of the main streets, ideally Adelaide Street, where we'll have legends playing sports for about 30 minutes with communities, with children and so on, also just to create hype around the event. So it's a takeover of Adelaide Street, with the legends. There's a lot of artistic activities that will be happening also around this, crafts, markets, performances, and so on. So challenges, we've identified that there's a lack of visibility and connection between sports and creativity. So we want people to celebrate sport and the arts together. By bridging that gap, there's a lack of diversity in diversity and collaboration amongst the CCIs and different sporting codes, and also lack of diverse sources of income, particularly for legendary sports stars. So the opportunities, making the connection visible, building unity, social cohesion, economic opportunities for the creative economy and sports, and critical success factors is to amplify the value of the SA Sports and CCI internationally. So we also want to build in content rights so that we can sell these to broadcasters. And then also action steps. We had started thinking about how do we then network and link up with international broadcasters, brands, influencers, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm really proud of you guys. Now, you notice, we talk about the 80-20 rule when we do this kind of strategic planning. 80% of what you need to put down in, for example, a business plan, you have been able to articulate that in 40 minutes. See how easy it is? And then the hard part comes. That last 20% can take you 80% of the time. Because then you have to do all of the financials and then trying to work back from the financials to say, well, okay, well, maybe this initiative is going to cost too much, or maybe this particular action step is far too expensive or doesn't generate the kind of return on investment that this project can afford. And so there's an interface between coming up with these global strategies and what I call the budget and finance component. So many times when I go to countries and they say to me they have a cultural policy, and I say, okay, great. It's a long laundry list. And then I ask, so where's the budget? There's no budget. I said, well, this is not a policy that can even be implemented. It's a wish list. Don't even call it a policy. Because unless you identify the resources that are going to be required to implement, it's unimplementable. So this framework allows you to start working out those details, and then you have to do almost like reverse engineering. Once you've come up with the ideas, you then look at the budget, and then you work back and say, okay, this is where the rubber is going to hit the ground. And so this is a very useful mechanism to fast track your business planning and strategic planning. And you see how easy it is to do it. And it's easy to do once you're doing it in a collective brainstorm framework. So I think you guys did a really good job. What we're going to do is, if you can share with us what you scribbled on, and we'll use some of the documentary evidence that's recorded on the film, and try and package it and send it back to you, so you'll get to see it in good print form, or well, good digital form. So I want to thank you very much for participating in the workshop. This has been a really interesting experiment to try and do this in 90 minutes. So you did guinea pigs, But I think you've done really well, and I'm really proud of you. And you should be proud of yourselves. Thank you very much.